Welcome, everybody, to the Michigan Women's Hockey Coaches Show here live from Regents Field. We are excited to be back. We went to an online show the week before just because the trip to St. Louis, so we're very excited to be back. Thank you so much to Regents Field for allowing us here. This week, Coach and I are going to talk about the trio of games that were in St. Louis this past weekend. We're going to talk about what's going to go on this coming weekend. We'll announce a fundraiser as well as another chance to see your Wolverines in action before the end of this season. Of course, we have head coach Jenna Trebbiano with us. How are you doing, Coach?
I'm doing well. We've got practice at 10 o'clock sharp tonight, so I am on it.
Fantastic. Excellent. So no rest for the wicked.
No, we had an optional skate Monday. We got, I think we got in 1:30, 1:40 a.m. After our trip, bus pulled into Yost 1:30 in the morning. So our Monday practice was optional. I think we had about 7 players show out, which is pretty good.
Nice.
I just kind of spectated, but they had off-ice lift yesterday. So we've got a full practice tonight, so I'm really excited.
Fantastic, absolutely. And we'll talk about big time practice because CCWHA game coming up this weekend.
Correct.
But we will talk about that. Looking back at this past weekend, the team had a trio of games in St. Louis, and the action started at 2 o'clock on Friday at Lindenwood. Now, Lindenwood plays at the Centene Community Ice Arena. And if you haven't been there before, it's 4 different rinks in one facility. So not the 8 rinks or so that were in Marlboro, but still 4 different rinks. There's an NHL rink in the back. As a matter of fact, the Blues were practicing when we had our first game there. There's the USA rink that has the most seating. It's seating all the way around. We didn't get to go into that one and play. Then there's the smaller rink, the Plager rink, and we saw that in Game 2. So if you watch that broadcast, you know it's a little bit of a smaller rink. And then there's the barn. And the barn is a outdoor facility. So it's an outdoor rink. It has a arched roof over top of it. It's open all the way around. And it has a fair amount of seating on one side. But it's definitely a very interesting place to play. But Michigan hasn't played outdoors since 2010 at the Big Chill. So what was the reaction of the team learning they were going to play outdoors? And how do you think that affected play a little bit?
It's an interesting story. I didn't know we were playing outside. You were actually the one that had texted me and asked if we were playing outside, and I think my response was, I hope not, because it was 60 degrees.
Yep.
So I quickly learned you were not joking with me, and before the team got off the bus, I prefaced them. We could see the outdoor sheet. They had been talking amongst themselves about it.
Yeah.
And I prefaced them. I gave them a heads up that we were going to be playing out there. The sun was obviously out.
Absolutely.
So I think some of the players had texted some family members to go grab some eye black because it was very bright.
Yes.
It's a 1 o'clock game.
Yes.
So, we were surprised. But I think overall we adjusted fairly well.
Indeed.
The ice it looked okay.
Yeah.
Obviously they had the Zamboni out there. And it was a regulation size rink. The biggest issue was really just the sun.
Sure, yeah.
And I think our players would have appreciated more time to prepare for that event. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good facility. Just really taken by surprise.
Absolutely.
And I think had we known, we could have hyped it up a little bit too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Or checked out the facility before the game. So, but yeah, I mean, it went okay.
Yeah.
The outcome wasn't exactly what we wanted, but at the end of the day, we're still undefeated. So.
And I think that was the most watched broadcast because it's such a unique facility. I mean, it is something that, had we known, we would have really pumped it up that we're playing there. And I was excited to see it, but yeah, definitely a shot. But that's okay. Talking about the game, Lindenwood started off the scoring in the first period as Antonio scored her second goal of the season. Antonio showed a lot of speed, a lot of talent with that goal. They do have some very, very skilled players, and Antonio as well as Haurishiko were very good in both games. Now, we knew this team was better than their record, but were you surprised at all by the level of talent they had and the level of skill?
Not at all. Like we talked about, they play in the toughest conference.
Yeah.
within the ACHA, so we knew they were going to be strong.
Yeah.
I think just the circumstances and it being the first game of the weekend, we didn't start as fast as we wanted to.
Sure, yeah, yeah.
So we took, I think, about a period to adjust, which is something that we need to work on. But yeah, I think overall they're a solid team.
Absolutely.
They're pretty deep. I know they didn't have the amount of players that we did, but we played them 2 days in a row, and
Yeah.
they were both battles.
Absolutely. And even the players that were on the ice for long periods of time didn't really seem to get too tuckered out until probably later in the second game. So I was absolutely amazed by some of the conditioning of some of those players.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
So Michigan was able to answer back in the second when Matthews took the puck and went behind the net and did a wraparound attempt and scored. This was her third goal of the season. And then, just like Coach Ned says, goals are contagious. So a minute 37 seconds later, Gustafson shoots the puck from the near point, and it looked like it might have gotten deflected somewhere on the way because it almost knuckleballed. She had her blocker out and it just slipped right behind, but it's a very nice goal there. This was a little earlier start than normal on a Friday, and as you said, it took a little bit to get going. Was that a little bit of it, or just being outside, or what do you think it was that just the team took a little bit of time to find their groove there?
Yeah, historically this season we haven't started as quickly as we need to.
Sure.
So that's something that we, as a coaching staff, really wanted to emphasize. Like, hey, we need to start strong because our third periods have been our best periods. But
absolutely,
we need to play a consistent game, so 20 minutes at a time. So it was great when we got that first goal, sort of, open the floodgates a little bit. And I think, like you mentioned. So from my perspective, Gustafson shot the puck, and I saw it go in. I saw her release, and then I saw the puck in the net.
Yeah.
But it looks like, and from what other people were saying on the bench, I think Sam Carr actually tipped the puck.
I don't doubt that.
Which is great. However, it wasn't reflected on the score sheet.
Sure, yeah.
But, yeah, I think just great play to get pucks in the net. Disrupt the puck a little bit as it's moving towards the net,
Absolutely.
and good things will happen.
Absolutely. And it's something that everyone does their best, and we talk occasionally, make fun of some of the numbers being wrong on the site, but everyone's trying their best, and sometimes you get a puck tip like that, and hopefully it all equals out on everyone's statistics. Michigan had some opportunities to pull away, including shortly thereafter the Gustafson goal. Lindahl had a actual penalty shot, but Allerding played very, very well throughout the first game. How often does the team get to practice a penalty shot? Is that something that you get to actually practice a lot? You don't see it a lot during the games.
Yeah, when we have time at practice, excuse me, our ice time is pretty limited.
Yeah.
I think Lindenwood said they're on the ice 6 days a week at 7 a.m.
Oh, wow.
And, we're on the ice 2 to 3 times per week depending on the academic calendar. So,
Yeah.
We try to practice shootouts, breakaways when we can. I know our goaltenders love it. They actually really do. They think it's really
That's
fun.
awesome.
Yeah. But Julia is somebody that's really comfortable in those situations.
Absolutely.
So for her on the ice to be able to take that penalty shot, obviously she didn't convert, but we had full confidence in her.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then obviously we had the shootout later on. So
yeah, it was a good attempt. It just Allerding slid side to side very well and blocked it. And then, speaking of which, Lindenwood, they really didn't want to lose their 7th game in a row. They increased their intensity a lot. Weeks was able to tie the game 4 minutes and 7 seconds into the third. And the game went into a 3-on-3 overtime. So Michigan had opportunities, just couldn't get the puck in the net. When you're going in and putting together lines for 3-on-3, what skills are you looking at? Are you looking at typically like one defender, 2 forwards, or does it depend on are you looking for a offensive, defensive person? Or what do you do when you put those lines together? Because it's very different from your normal lines.
it is. So what Joe and I have kind of come up with are, I think, 3 or 4 different combinations where we've got a defenseman or a player that's playing defense and 2 forwards. And what we really emphasize in 3v3 because the benches switched.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, it's all good.
Got excited. The benches switched, so you have the long change.
Yeah.
And realistically, you should only change when you have possession of the puck.
Yeah.
So we really emphasize puck possession. Those players that possess the puck really well.
Yeah.
That's sort of who we're looking for in those 3v3 situations, and then also somebody that is known to be a goal scorer.
Yeah.
So we mix it up a little bit, but typically, depending on who's available, if there are injuries, anything like that, that's typically what we look for. There was a penalty in the overtime period, so they had 4 players, we had 3. We killed the penalty, which was awesome. Great momentum for us.
Absolutely.
So then it was 4v4 until the next whistle.
Yep.
So that's obviously an adjustment that's made on the fly as well. So just a lot of moving parts in that
I
very
don't doubt
quick
that.
5 minutes.
That's got to be tough on the bench. You sit here, you have these three-person squads, and also because of the penalty, now you have to kind of make do with a 4-person squad until a whistle. And yeah, that's got to be tough. I am immensely impressed, and I do not envy you those skills. So that is fantastic. Now, taking a look at that, then there was a shootout, which did not count for the ACHA points. It's something that Lindenwood's conference does, but it doesn't count to the ACHA. But it did feature some amazing goals. Lindahl actually got a beautiful goal, taking it from the far side, cutting across and backhanding it in. And then Carr had an amazing shot as well, where it looked like she lost it, and then she just got it up her right-hand corner, as well as 2 amazing saves by Poneth. Even though it didn't count, did the team have fun with the shootout and coming away with the 2-1 shootout win there?
I think so. It's something we haven't done before.
Yeah.
So we had, obviously we put Sam in a situation where we knew she could convert, and that's exactly what she did. So, we won in the shootout. I take that as a win for us, given the situation at hand.
Yeah.
We're still undefeated. And
Absolutely.
we knew we were going to play Lindenwood again. So I think everybody in the locker room knew that wasn't our best performance for whatever reason.
Sure.
And I think, we'll talk about it, but I think going into Saturday, there was just a very focused mindset of we need to do better as a group.
Sure.
Everybody in the locker room. So we have the player of the game chain. I don't know if you've seen it on social media, but we typically post it on our Instagram story.
Yeah.
So Poneth received the chain. And typically the person that receives the chain has to give like a little speech.
Sure, yeah.
It's like speech. And she basically said like, let's do better tomorrow. Like that's what she said. Because, it was great that we didn't lose, but we knew the expectation is we have to perform all 3 periods, no matter the situation. So.
And the team felt like they could do better.
Yes.
And that's a fantastic thing for the players to know and kind of feel and say, okay, you know what, we're just going to focus next game. And obviously you probably echoed those responses, but you didn't have to kind of lead the charge with that. So that's awesome for the leadership of this team.
For sure. That was a situation where we knew we could have done better, and they're holding everybody else accountable. They're holding their teammates accountable. Like, as a group, we need to do better.
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
It's fantastic. You don't want to be in this situation, but it's fantastic that people do have that level of pride.
Yes, a little adversity is good.
Yeah, absolutely. So game 2 versus Lindenwood was in a very different setting. It was later in the evening this time, so 9:30 Eastern time on Saturday night. It was in the smallest rink that played your rink, and what was it like going from an outdoor rink to a bit of a bandbox? It was probably one of the smaller rinks we've had the team play in. There was 3 levels of seating, but it was kind of split, so there wasn't in the middle. What was that like to go from the one to the other?
I think it was more normal for us to be indoors.
Yeah.
Definitely. It was very loud in there. That was
It was very loud, yes.
Watching the practice before us, it was very loud. I told our players, like, you've got to communicate, you've got to be loud. It's just very chaotic in there. There's a lot of noise. It's going to echo. So we need to be very precise with our communication. Mm-hmm. It was just a normal rink, community rink. It wasn't Yost, obviously, but it was enough, and we were able to get the job done.
Absolutely. Did nothing bad with it. It was just a very different
Yes.
switch out there. So Michigan got on the board first with a power play goal from Gargiulo that was set up by Swanson. But Lindenwood answered back 2 minutes and 20 seconds later as Teague put in a shot from Antonio and Haurishiko. It was a screen shot from the high slot. It was a lot of traffic out in front. And then Lindenwood took the lead in the second when Haurishko scored from Antonio. Were the players on the bench at all worried at that point once they took the 1-goal lead because it was tough getting goals late in the game and in the game before and it was tied? Was there any worry or was everyone pretty confident that, look, we're going to come back, we'll get this tied and take the lead?
They were confident. Like I
Nice.
said, after Friday's game,
Yeah.
we knew we needed to do better.
Yeah.
So once we were in a deficit, we knew we had to play. We knew we had to play our game
Yeah.
and perform and put pucks on net and win battles and win foot races and create momentum. So that is what we needed to do, and that's exactly what we did. So there was no panic on the bench.
Nice.
Obviously, that was John's second game,
Sure, yeah.
and she was very confident in herself, and the team's confident in her. So that definitely helps. But we've been in situations where we've been down
Yeah.
goals before this season, and in the third period, that's when we start to shine.
Absolutely, outlasting and having that energy, and that's fantastic. Michigan found their groove as the game went on, scoring 3 unanswered goals. Malashevsky tied the game at 10-17 in the second. Then Lindahl scored 2 goals in the third, 1 assisted by Gargiulo and 1 by Swanson. Michigan won 4-2. What was it that allowed the team to have more success as it went on? Was it just that you were rolling 4 lines, or did the team really start to gel after the travel? Because they definitely seemed to get stronger as that game went on.
I think a little bit of both. So I think something that works to our advantage is the fact that we do roll 4 lines.
Absolutely.
We don't really have a top line. We feel we would be comfortable putting any of our 4 forward lines
Yeah.
in any game situation. So for us to not have to cut the bench to try to come back in a game,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think is an advantage, especially I think Lindenwood only had 3 forward lines maybe.
Yeah.
So our players were less tired by the third period.
Indeed.
So that definitely works to our advantage. And I think just the mentality of us not having the best performance on Friday and
Yeah.
knowing that something needed to change so that we were able to put pucks in the net. You could just feel that, we want to do better.
Yeah.
We all wanted to do better. And it was just a team effort. It wasn't any player trying to do everything themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was really a team effort. And as coaches, putting players in situations that they're going to be successful in, that's our job.
Yeah.
But you could tell everybody really, really wanted to win that game. on the bench.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's fantastic. This was, again, as you started to talk about a little bit earlier, Emma John's second game between the pipes. How did you feel? I mean, she looked very comfortable there, made some great saves throughout the game. What was your kind of reaction to her second game there?
She's confident. She was very confident for a first-year goaltender. Obviously, this is my first season having to juggle 2
Absolutely.
goaltenders and
Yeah.
2 really good goaltenders at that. But I think kind of going into the weekend, what we had told them is obviously we had the McHenry game circled
Yeah.
as that was a national championship rematch. And what we had told them, Poneth was going to get the first game, Johns was going to get the second game against
Yep.
Lindenwood, and then Poneth was going to get our third game of the weekend against McHenry.
Absolutely.
So kind of spacing it out so that Poneth was fresh for that Sunday game,
Sure, yeah.
but having full confidence in Emma.
Absolutely.
This is your opportunity. This is what you need to do. And she did really well. And she, at the end of the game, Sandy had given her the player of the game chain.
Nice.
So it was transferred from goaltender to goaltender. But something she had mentioned is basically, she said something along the lines of, thanks for trusting me. Like, I'm here to prove to you that, like, I can win games for us.
Yes.
So I was really proud of her.
That's awesome. And what a blessing to have 2 amazing goaltenders. That's just
Definitely.
such a never want anything to happen to Ponth, but it's such a relief to have two steady presences in the pipes. So that's wonderful. And
They're both very special.
absolutely, what a good thing to have. Then looking at Sunday, so this was a top 10 matchup between number 5 Michigan and number 6 McKendree at the McKendree Metro Plex, and throughout most of the afternoon, it was a very tight back and forth game. We know that this was the marquee matchup of the weekend. Were there any nerves? Were the players nervous at all before the game, or was everyone pretty settled and ready to go?
If there were nerves, I couldn't tell because they were just so focused.
So it was just me having nerves up top. Okay, that's fine. I'm willing to admit that. I was nervous, but that's okay. So that's awesome. I can't affect the game either, so that's probably why. But
Yeah, you could even tell. I mean, I was standing up by you while they were warming up, and
Yeah.
everybody was just dialed.
laser focused.
Which is great. If that's what they need to do to get themselves prepared, I'll let them do it.
Absolutely.
They're not the most vocal bunch,
Sure.
I've learned. So however they feel they need to prepare, that's what we need to give them space to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was just more of the returning players knowing what to expect. Obviously, we had lost to them in the national championship when it mattered last year. So
Yep.
this was sort of an opportunity to showcase how much stronger we've gotten
Absolutely.
as a group and as Team 28.
And this is the team that beat one of our big rivals in the conference, Adrian, just 2 nights before.
Correct.
And Adrian had a good weekend beating Maryville twice. So lots of teams in that area, including the rugby team for Michigan. Just
Yep.
a whole bunch of Michigan was visiting St. Louis that
Yeah.
weekend, so that's okay. Taking a look at that game, Michigan held McKendree off the board in the scoreless first period. McKendree had a lot of opportunities. They outshot Michigan officially 17-3 in the first period. I think Coach Ned had a few more shots for us, but McKendree kind of did take the play more to us in that first. How comfortable was the team having to play a bit more of a defensive-minded game, at least early on?
We had to kill a lot of penalties in that first period.
Indeed, yes.
And having watched their power play, we knew the adjustments we had to make.
Yeah.
Although we didn't actually make the adjustments until later in the game. So Poneth played a big role in that first period in keeping us in the game.
Absolutely.
And gave us an opportunity to win. And that's what her job is.
Yeah.
But we can't rely on her to win games. So, yeah, it was definitely a more defensive period for us. But I think, again, everybody settled in.
Yeah.
We weren't taking as many penalties. We can play with them 5-on-5. So that's what we just really needed to focus on.
And there was definitely the special teams were tested this weekend, especially the PK. The penalty kill did really well, and it was at one point they ended up getting a couple penalties late, but I think it was 5 Michigan penalties to 2 McKendree up until the second. So this is a penalty kill that gave up its lone penalty goal this weekend. So a very, very sterling upper 90s%. How pleased have you been with the penalty kill so far?
It's great. Ideally, I'd love it to be 100%.
Of course, absolutely.
That's just the Michigan in me.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think, overall our special teams are pretty solid. We're going to continue to tweak them,
Yeah.
which I'm excited about because I feel like there's always room for improvement and we don't
Indeed.
want to settle. We're always seeing new things. Our new players this year are really starting to evolve. I wouldn't even call them first years anymore. They
Yeah,
have,
yeah.
I think, 9 games. Is that right? 9 games under their belt.
Yep, 9 games. Yep. I can do some basic math.
So that's, a third of the season or over
Indeed.
a third of the season. So they're really starting to settle in, and we're excited to see how we can piece things together or change things up
Yeah.
as the season rolls along.
It's fantastic. So Michigan got on the scoreboard in the second when Katie German took a blast from the high slot and Swanson tipped it in. And At that point, was there any sort of tension released when that first goal went in? It being such a back and forth kind of defensive-minded game, was there any sort of sense of relief, or was it just gets everyone focused and hyped up even more?
I think it's different for every player.
Yeah.
It was great to get the first goal,
Absolutely.
which is something we want to do.
Yeah.
Especially to capitalize on our power play, which is something that we work on fairly often, to see it convert in such a big game.
Yes.
And really to capitalize based on what our players were reacting to and reading on the ice.
Yeah.
It was okay. They're obviously running really aggressive.
Yep.
Penalty kill, we need to move the puck.
Absolutely.
So that's exactly what we did. And then KG took a nice shot that was on the ice, and Kelsey was in the right spot with her stick on the ice, and puck went in the net.
That's awesome. And Kelsey, please forgive me. Jersey was tucked a little bit. I saw the top of the 9, thought it was an 8. But I got it corrected. It was absolutely Kelsey Swanson who got it. So that's fantastic. Now, Kelsey did have to leave the game with an upper body injury. Hopefully she's doing all right. But you had to adjust the lines, and that's something that she experienced it in Saturday's game. How did you have to adjust lines? What changes did you make to play the third without one of your leading scorers in the middle of a top 10 matchup? You had to juggle that. How did that go?
Honestly, Joe really managed it.
Nice.
And he managed it really well. I've been focusing more on our defensemen.
Yeah.
So the thought was we're just going to spot somebody in
Yep.
on her line, which is the Matthews, Flazar, Swanson line. So
Yeah.
to plug players in, obviously, I think at the start, Jessie Simmer was getting some ice time on that line.
Yep.
And she's a senior, so she's been in situations like that. We trust her. But like I've talked about, we have 4 really strong forward lines.
Yes, absolutely.
So we could really plug any player in.
Yeah.
And feel comfortable in that situation, and that's what we did. So hopefully she'll recover
Absolutely.
as quickly as possible. Obviously staying healthy and doing things she needs to do. But we'll be excited to have her back when she's ready.
Fantastic. Well, we hope, Kelsey, you get healthy soon. And she's a tough player. So Hanson put the game away in the last 2 minutes of the third with 2 just outstanding goals. The first one, she came down and skated across, came down to the near circle, cut across the bottom of it, and just a perfectly placed shot, got it in the upper right-hand corner. There's nothing the goaltender could do about that one. And then the second one, she came down and she cut across the crease going from the far side to the near side, was able to put a backhand in, very similar to Lindahl's almost patented move that she makes that does that. With that level of dynamic scoring ability, how much do you let a player be creative and kind of create opportunities, and how much do you kind of try and run plays to get them in certain spots and things like that? As a coach, what is that balance like of creativity versus kind of set plays?
Yeah, there's definitely a balance. Some players want to be more creative.
Yeah.
And some want structured plays.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the player, but we have a lot of creative players on our team.
Absolutely.
And a lot of players that like to shoot the puck and they like to score goals, which is fine by me, as
Indeed.
long as it's the right situation. But we've never been a team that it's very rare that we outshoot our opponent.
Yeah.
Especially if we're playing a top 10 team. So if there are players that want to force pucks and bodies to the net, I'm all for it, because most of the goals are scored from second, third opportunities.
Indeed.
In and around the crease. So the first step is getting the puck there, and then it's following up, getting the second person in, strong stick on the ice, moving bodies to be able to capitalize on that opportunity.
Absolutely.
But yeah, she's a gamer. She loves to score, and I was excited, after the second goal, and then obviously the third goal.
Oh yeah.
And then it's just the third period was really a defensive mindset, but
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, it was just a really exciting end to the game.
Definitely, it definitely put that out there. Yeah, Michigan absolutely does have a lot of players who can score beautiful goals in a lot of areas. At some point, I need to put together a highlight reel of some of these amazing goals, because we have a lot of talent on this team. So Michigan beat McKendree 3-0. Poneth gets another shutout. Did the team get to do anything fun over the weekend? Did you get to have a team building back when you were in St. Louis?
Yeah, we actually, so Saturday, it would have been 11 o'clock Central Time, which is when Michigan played Penn State. Sorry.
Indeed. Looking forward to 2 weeks from
Yes,
now. I
well,
get it. I'm
it's
worried
all over
about
the
that.
TVs in here. But yeah, they played Penn State.
Yep.
So I had connected with the University of Michigan Alumni Club in St. Louis
Nice.
and had given them a heads up that we were coming. So we went to the restaurant where their watch parties are typically held.
Very
which is
cool.
a great venue, Stackhouse. It's in, I think, Chesterfield, Missouri.
Nice.
So we went there. They had a nice space for us where the players could sit. We invited our parents that had made the trip with us too.
Very cool.
And I think they had about 10, 15 alumni and family members from the St. Louis area that joined us. So it was really cool just to be in a space with a lot of maize and blue. And,
yeah.
to focus on something that wasn't necessarily hockey
Absolutely.
in the weekend. And then actually the women's rugby coach, I was sort of mingling around.
Yeah.
And the door opens and I see Jamie French. She's the women's rugby coach. And I was
Yeah.
like, hi, like this is really weird to see you. However many states
Absolutely.
away, but they were playing, I think in the semifinal for their national tournament.
And they won that. I
They
believe they
did.
went on.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. I feel bad they were there and I didn't get a chance to go see them, but we were a little busy. But that's awesome that they were there. And everyone had a good time with the alumni and all?
Yeah, we took some pictures and they
Nice.
posted it on Facebook, which was cool. But that's something I like to do when we travel is
Yeah.
to connect with the alumni groups because that was a big factor into my decision to choose
Yeah.
Michigan
Absolutely.
because of the alumni base and using that for networking opportunities, internships, advice, whatever it is. Really
Yeah.
capitalizing on that network that we have that a lot of other school systems don't have.
Absolutely.
So they were able to come to our game. Some of them came to our game, which was late on Saturday, but it was cool to see the support there at an away event.
Oh, it was lovely. Yeah, there was a
Yeah.
bunch of them there. They had beautiful maize signs, and we want to thank them so much for being
Absolutely.
there. Much better experience than I had, which was at a Buffalo Wild Wings. So one more reason to love Regents Field. But every time I'm at Buffalo Wild Wings, I had two Buckeye fans right behind me who were loudly cheering for Michigan players to get injured, which was what it was. So that's an awesome time. Now, taking a look, any other final thoughts about this past weekend before we look ahead?
I'm just really proud of the team.
Yeah.
Proud of the leadership for keeping everybody on task and focused and organized throughout the weekend.
Yeah.
Thank you all for making the trip down there. I know a lot of families that were not able to make the trip to St. Louis really appreciated everything you did over the weekend for us. So thank you.
Oh, it's our pleasure.
But yeah, it was a good trip. No bad weather, and we're still undefeated, so can't complain.
There you go, absolutely. This Saturday, November 18th, Michigan travels to the west side of the state. So if there's a Grand Rapids Michigan alumni group, guess what? You have an opportunity to go see Michigan as they take on fellow CCWHA foes, Aquinas. So this is a league game. It counts for ACHA as well as CCWHA points. It's at 7:30 at the Southside Ice Arena. Aquinas has one win. They split the series versus Davenport, so they got one win. Davenport got one win. They lost 2 games to Grand Valley. They lost 2 games to Michigan State and 1 to Minnesota. Is there any difficulty keeping the team focused when you go from playing the number 6 team in the nation to a team that, there are no really weak teams in the CCWHA, but a little less heralded team who hasn't had a lot of success yet up until this point? Is that a difficult mindset or mind switch? Because you don't want to take them too lightly and end up behind and having issues.
Correct. I think just keeping everybody focused during practice tonight.
Yep.
Like I said, we had the optional skate Monday, which was a good break, a good mental and physical break after a long 3-game weekend.
Yeah.
So I think everybody's going to come to practice hungry, excited, bring the energy. And we've got practice tomorrow night too. So with it being a CCWHA game, every goal counts.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to finishing the semester of
Yeah.
ACHA play strong. So we're really just focused one game at a time. And it's the last game of the semester as well as before Thanksgiving break. So I know there's a lot of academic stuff happening right now too. So I think just keeping everybody
Indeed.
focused and excited to come to the rink and work on things at 10, 11 o'clock at night is what our job as coaches is.
Absolutely.
So we're really just focused on keeping everybody motivated and excited. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing some new things on Saturday.
Awesome. Well, that is the last official game before the end of the year. We know that we've already announced that the team is going to be playing a benefit game at Yost on the 4th at 8:30 versus the Old Puckers. But there's an opportunity to actually see the team on the 2nd. There's another scrimmage. So can you tell us a little bit about that new scrimmage that's happening on the 2nd?
I can. So we're going to be scrimmaging Little Caesars Farmington Hills 19U AA team.
Nice.
So Emily Malashevsky, it's actually her dad's team.
Awesome.
And it's the team that both Emily and Sam played for. And we actually have some other players that came through that program. Megan Matthews, Jesse Simmer, Katie Christensen.
Awesome.
So it's exciting to be able to play them. They are one of the top teams in the state. And there are some players that are looking into Michigan as well. So I think it'll be a good matchup, and it'll also be an opportunity for us to get one more game situation at Yost and really finish the semester out with a fun game, scrimmage situation outside of Old Puckers, because we'll have, I think, 2 or 3 practices when we come back before we host URI. So I thought it was important to get one more game-like situation into our schedule.
Nice.
And fortunately, Yost was available, so
Very cool.
yeah, it's always fun to play there.
So get on out. I'm assuming it's open to the public?
Yes.
So get on out December 2nd. It is, I believe it's 6:30 at Yost, if I saw
Yes.
that right. 6:30 at Yost. Little Caesars 19U will be coming in, so check that out. ACHA rankings came out. Michigan back to number 4 after being the number 6 team in the nation, so that's good to see them bounce back up. Oh, and one other thing, it's going to be a really busy beginning of December because you have the scrimmage on the 2nd, the scrimmage on the 4th. Then Side Biscuit is doing a fundraiser with Michigan on the 3rd.
Yes.
So that's very exciting. That's
Yes.
great. If you like good wings, and boy, they have some really good food over at Side Biscuit. That is fantastic. So it's going to be 4 to 8, I believe, at Side Biscuit. Anything else about that fundraiser you want to mention?
We haven't gone through all the details yet.
Okay.
We just met a couple weeks ago to solidify a date, knowing we wanted to get some sort of fundraiser in this semester. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think we might have like a hot wing eating contest.
Oh, boy.
Jordan Baldo, he actually know him from like the Ann Arbor Beer League
Nice.
community, but
Nice.
we've known each other for a while. But he's from Buffalo, obviously in Ann Arbor now. But
Yeah.
he's excited to have us. We did a fundraiser with them last year, and it went really well. It was, I think, in May 2022, must have been.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
So it's been a while, but they've been wanting to get us back in there. So we're going to have some content creation and some exciting things coming out on social media, so be sure to follow along.
Very cool. The wing eating contest, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I do have my face in a few random Buffalo Wild Wings for the Blazing Challenge. I used to travel a lot, and so Sundays watching the Lions, I needed some physical pain back then to match the emotional pain, but that's neither here nor there. And boy, the Lions are fun to watch now. But
Yes, they are.
That made a great trip back. We hopped on the car. They had a field goal lead and got to listen to that the whole way back. So that's awesome. Anything else you want to mention?
No, I just want to thank everybody for their support. Obviously, we are ranked number 4 in the nation, but that's reflective of the support we've received from the community, our families that are involved in our program, our alumni, and obviously President Santa Ono as well. So thank you.
Thank you to everyone. Thank you to Regents Field for being awesome and letting us be here. We are very, very grateful. Thank you to the St. Louis, Michigan Alumni Association for hosting the team and coming to the game. We are super grateful for that. Thank you to everyone who watched the games, who came out to games, and thank you to you. So we're looking forward to this weekend. That will be again Saturday, 7:30 at Aquinas at the Southside Ice Arena. We'll broadcast that. We'll be on about 15 minutes beforehand. So thank you, Coach.
Yeah, thank
Have
you.
a great practice and take care, everybody. We'll see you
Thank
on
you.
Saturday.